Saint Apollonia was one of a group of virgin martyrs who suffered in Alexandria during a local uprising against the Christians prior to the persecution of Decius. According to legend, her torture included having all of her teeth violently pulled out or shattered. For this reason, she is popularly regarded as the patroness of dentistry and those suffering from toothache or other dental problems. French court painter Jehan Fouquet painted the scene of St. Apollonia's torture in the martyrdom of St. Apollonia. Martyrdom. Ecclesiastical historians have claimed that in the last years of Emperor Philip the Arab, during otherwise undocumented festivities to commemorate the millennium of the founding of Rome, the fury of the Alexandrian mob rose to a great height, and when one of the poets prophesied a calamity, they committed bloody outrages on the Christians, whom the authorities made no effort to protect. Dionysius, bishop of Alexandria, relates the sufferings of his people in a letter addressed to Fabius, bishop of Antioch, of which long extracts have been preserved in Eusebius's Historia Ecclesiae. After describing how a Christian man and woman, Metras and Quinta, were seized and killed by the mob, and how the houses of several other Christians were pillaged, Dionysius continues, "At the time Apollonia, Parthenos presbytes, was held in high esteem. These men seized her also and by repeated blows broke all her teeth. They then erected outside the city gates a pile of faggots and threatened to burn her alive if she refused to repeat after them impious words. Given, at her own request, a little freedom, she sprang quickly into the fire and was burned to death." Quote, "This brief tale was extended and moralized in Jacobus de Veragin's Golden Legend. Apollonia and a whole group of early martyrs did not await the death they were threatened with, but either to preserve the chastity or because they were confronted with the alternative of renouncing the faith of suffering death, voluntarily embraced the death prepared for them, an action that runs perilously close to suicide." Some thought. Augustine of Hippo touches on this question in the first book of the City of God, apropos suicide. But, they say, during the time of persecution certain holy women plunged into the water with the intention of being swept away by the waves and drowned, and thus preserve the threatened chastity. Although they quitted life in this wise, nevertheless they receive high honor as martyrs in the Catholic Church, and the feasts are observed with great ceremony. This is a matter on which I dare not pass judgment lightly, for I know not but that the Church was divinely authorized through trustworthy revelations to honor thus the memory of these Christians. It may be that such is the case. May it not be, too, that these acted in such a manner, not through human caprice but on the command of God, not erroneously but through obedience, as we must believe in the case of Samson. When, however, God gives a command and makes it clearly known, who would account obedience to a crime or condemn such pious devotion and ready service? The narrative of Dionysius does not suggest the slightest reproaches to this act of Saint Apollonia. In his eyes she was as much a martyr as the others, and as such she was revered in the Alexandrian Church. In time, her feast was also popular in the West. A later narrative mistakenly duplicated Apollonia, making her a Christian virgin of Rome in the reign of Julian the Apostate, suffering the same dental fate. Veneration. The Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic Churches celebrate the feast day of Saint Apollonia on February 9th, and she is popularly invoked against the toothache because of the torments she had to endure. She is represented in art with pincers in which a tooth is held. In a late 14th century illumination from a French manuscript, the tooth in her pincers glows from within, like a light bulb. Saint Apollonia is one of the two patron saints of Catania. William S. Walsh noted that, though the major part of her relics were preserved in the former church of St. Apollonia at Rome, her head at the Basilica di Santa Maria in Trastevere, her arms at the Basilica di San Lorenzo Fuori Limura, Parts of her jaw in St. Basil's, and other relics are in the Jesuit church at Antwerp, in St. Augustine's at Brussels, in the Jesuit church at Mechlin, in St. Cross at Liège, in the treasury of the Cathedral of Porto, and in several churches at Cologne. These relics consist in some cases of a solitary tooth or a splinter of bone. In the Middle Ages, objects claimed to be her teeth were sold as toothache cures. During the reign of Henry VI of England, several tons of these purported teeth were collected in an effort to stop the scam. There was a church dedicated to her in Rome, near the Basilica di Santa Maria in Trastevere, but it no longer exists. Only its little square, the Piazza Sant'Apollonia, remains. One of the principal train stations of Lisbon is also named for this saint. There is a statue of St. Apollonia in the church at Locronan, France. The island of Mauritius was originally named Santa Apollonia in her honor in 1507 by Portuguese navigators. A parish church in Ellendorf, a suburb of Aachen, Germany, is named in honor of St. Apollonia. Presence in England. There are 52 known images of her in various English churches that survived the ravages of the 16th century commissioners. These are concentrated in Devon and East Anglia. Most of these images are on the panels of rood screens, are featured in stained glass, with only one being a stone capital. She is also depicted in a tapestry of circa 1499 at St. Mary's Guildhall, Coventry. By county, some of the locations are Cheshire, Bunbury, Cornwall, Panstock, Devon, Alphington, Ashton, Combe Martin, Exeter Cathedral, Holm, Kenton, Kings Kirkwell, Maniton, Payhambury, South Milton, Stoke-in-Tainhead, Torbryan, Ugborough, Wimple, Widdicombe in the Moor, Walborough, Lincolnshire, Long Sutton, Norfolk, Bartington, Docking, Horsham, St Faith, Ludham, Norwich over the water, Sandringham, Suffolk, Norton, Somerleyton, West Hall, Chiltern. Her image is the side support of the arms of the British Dental Association.